All right, you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right, here. We're going to be looking in the book of Exodus chapter 10. We'll be covering 2 chapters. Don't worry. We're going to just kind of mosey along through this, doing it verse by verse. If you're joining us online, I'm not live.
Oh, there you go.
There we are. Okay. But anyhow, we appreciate you joining us every time we go through these verses. It is a lot of work, and His Word is powerful. And I believe in the sufficiency of the Scriptures. I can just literally get up here and just read the verses, and there's enough anointing and power in just the Word alone that it is even going out to help those, and just kind of, it's like ointment for a broken heart. And that's how powerful it is. So we're going to be looking in Exodus chapter 10. And this is a very interesting thing, because ministry is not an easy thing. You have to be called to do what God has called you to do. And God called Moses to do a very specific task for a very specific time period. And he was facing an unsympathetic king or Pharaoh, and God had put him in place so he can endure placing his people in jeopardy, following a man that really didn't want to be there, right? It was Moses. He said, I don't want to do this. And he now is going to be exiting Egypt. And if you're a forereader, or if you know from Sunday school, they're going to be in the desert or in the wilderness with millions of people having lots of wonderful things to say. Wonderful things to say. No, they were complaining, and they're complaining to him, just like us in America, always complaining about something. And it is so easy to do. It is very natural, comes very, very natural. We never have to tell a child to say, hey, you need to complain. You need to complain. It's so easy. It just comes natural. So, but you can find that a lot of times when God calls and places people, sometimes they buck against it. They're like, I don't want that. I didn't sign up for this. Jeremiah, he preached for 40 years under the reign of 5 kings, and not really many people liked him. He wasn't a fancy guy. Nobody really liked him. No results, and he wanted to quit. Jonah, remember Jonah? Yeah, he quit, and then he had to return because it got really hectic. Moses wanted to quit before he even started. So he was like, go find someone else. So we're going to be looking in Exodus chapter 10. And throughout all of this, you could find out that this one key verse is that we're going to find a lot about in these verses about God is patient. And in 2 Peter 5:9, it says God, he's speaking of God, is long-suffering towards us. Yeah, he's long-suffering towards us, not willing that anybody should perish. So we're going to read these first two verses, and you're going to see this. But when God is dealing with humanity, here's a couple of things. He's very patient, but the problem is we tend to misinterpret patience. Yeah, you ever met somebody who was extremely patient and you misread them, and you're like, God, this guy's really slow. Yeah.
Not correct to say Peter 3:9.
One more time.
So not correct to say 2 Peter 3:9.
Oh, 3:9. Forgive. Oh, yeah, that's right. Thank you. See, I like that. Someone's paying attention. At any time, you can raise your hand and say, "You are wrong." Okay, that's fine with me. Let's duke it out. I'm just kidding. He's like, yeah. I appreciate that, Kim. Thank you. The vote of confidence there. But nonetheless, we tend to misinterpret God's patience, right? We tend to think that, one, he's either weak because he hasn't executed judgment. We think that he's just kind of a weak God and he's scared. Or he just simply doesn't care. Like he's got bigger, better problems to solve. And what does my addictions or what does my problems mean to him? Or what does my sin mean anything to him? He's got bigger things to solve, like world hunger. And then also we also tend to look at where he hasn't said anything, so God must approve. God must approve, so God hasn't dealt with me. He hasn't confronted me. So surely he just doesn't really care about that. But the fact is that God is long-suffering. And you're going to look at this and you're going to see this right now. Here we go. Exodus chapter 10. Why is God doing this? What's the motive? Here's the first verse. Why are all the plans and the plagues that are going on? He's going to answer this in the first 2 verses. Now the Lord said to Moses, go to who? Pharaoh, and for who I have hardened his heart and the hearts of his servants, that I may show these signs of mine before him, and that you may tell in the hearing of your son and your son's sons, the mighty things I have done in Egypt, my signs which I have done among them, that they may know that I am the Lord. Hold up. He answered the why, the what, and another why. Here it is. Here's the why. Here we go. He tells them what he's going to do. I have hardened the heart of who? Pharaoh, and the heart of his servants. Why? That I may show these signs of mine. And he's going to tell them why he's doing this. Before him, okay, for Pharaoh, and that you may tell in the hearing of your sons, your kids that are come out from under you, and your sons' sons, what are you trying to show them? Here's what he's trying to show them. The mighty things I have done in Egypt, my signs that I have done among them. Why? Because they need to know that I am the Lord. That's why God is doing all that he is doing. And we are on this plague right here. And in verse 3, and we're going to see this, but I just want to comment on this. God has given us children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, a heritage. Children are an inheritance from the Lord. It's an heritage. And this is why it's so important. We must continue to share what God has done in our lives, to share with our families, our friends, because the story that God wants us to be shared, it's our story. I cannot share Donnie's story like Donnie can. I cannot share my story that I was a self-righteous, slick-haired, finger-pointing religious person, always critical, very judgmental, wicked on the inside. I cannot share that story. I cannot share your story like you can share mine. You can't share my story like I can share mine. When you think about it, a child's time, and this was just actually an old statistic, that a child's time is 16% of their time in life is going to be in an actual school classroom, in a day, I should say. And 1% will be, in their lifetime, 1% will be in Sunday school. And the other 83%, anybody know where? At home. At home. So they're going to get most of their teaching from their parents. In their room with all of the dirty dishes that they didn't bring back into the kitchen, all of the video games and all of that, they're going to be at home. And this is where we got to understand how we invite the presence of the Lord into our home and how we live in our home. And men, this is also a very big deal for us men, to be slow to anger, quick to hear, which I fail every day. I fail almost every single day. Well, even the world tells us that parenting is a high value of that. If we don't raise our children, then the world will raise our children. But unbelievers recognize the value even in this, and a very he was a narcissistic, but he was a very philosophical person that said this. Why do you turn and scrape every stone and gather wealth and take so little care of your children to whom you have to relinquish it all? Anybody guess who said this?
Socrates.
That's exactly right. How'd you know that?
I'm smart. I have no common sense.
That's exactly. I see a lot of your daughter now. I see. This answers a lot.
Yes, it does.
That's okay. That's all right. That's awesome. I am smart. But we're looking at the 8th plague. And I'm still hung up on what Jolene said, so hang on. Give me a second. And we're back. Here we go. We're back. So Moses, he got some guts to walk up to the ruler of the known world and say, you got some serious pride issues. And I think God chose Moses because he was a little, maybe smacked in the head for you to go up to somebody and tell them, you've got some issues. So Moses and Aaron came to Pharaoh and said to him, thus says the Lord God of Hebrews, how long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go that they may serve me, or else if you refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow, he tells them exactly what's going to happen. Behold, tomorrow, I will bring locusts into your territory. First, he tells Pharaoh, you are a very stubborn person. You are very, very stubborn. And the question is how long? This is the thing about God, is that he'll ask. And it's not because he's a mean God. It's just that he's very gracious to even ask that. Because he doesn't write you off on your first offense to him, or the third, or the fifth, or the millionth. God is very patient. Very patient. Very patient, yeah. So he asked Pharaoh, and he said, and Pharaoh, of course, in just a few minutes, his crew, his homies, his staff are going to ask the very same question. But interestingly enough, here you're going to find out what Moses is going to do. And he tells them that these locusts, they're going to cover the face of the earth, so that way no one will be able to even see the ground or the earth, that they shall eat the residue of what is left from the hail, from the remains of which came from the hail, that they may eat every tree which grows up for you out of the field. And then he tells them, they're going to fill your house, bro. The house of all your servants and the house of all the Egyptians, which neither your fathers or their fathers' fathers have seen since the day they were on this earth. And he turned and he went out from Pharaoh. Holy cow. You don't turn and walk out of Pharaoh. You don't show the back to Pharaoh. This guy is two things: crazy and honors and loves the Lord so much. He has no idea how many plagues. Moses doesn't have a clue of how many plagues there's going to be at this point. He has no idea. This is the 8th plague. God's going to reveal this here in the next plague. But he's telling, hey, Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord. Wow. You don't do that. But he did it. And he had enough guts in his whatever to make it happen. So and then Pharaoh's servants tell him, listen, how long shall this man be a snare to us? Let the men go, that they may serve the Lord your God. Do you not know that Egypt is destroyed? So how long? God is still asking all of us this question for those that haven't turned their heart towards God, for those that are continually to sin before him. And he's finally saying, hey, listen, how long are you going to stay in your wickedness? How long are you going to finally turn to me? I have the power to destroy, and I'm asking you, please, how long? Your soul is on the brink of destruction. How long are you going to be on that train track? There are actually people there that want to get a thrill on standing on train tracks. And they see a train coming, and they're about to be destroyed, and you're screaming, and they're offended at you for screaming at them. It's the same thing in our life. It's the same in our life. But yet we have a very patient God that continues to ask the question, turn to me, come to me, save yourself. I can restore you. Turn to me, and he will meet you. The thing about the Lord is that he will meet you right where you are at, so you don't need to clean yourself up. He'll reveal the truth about you, which a lot of times we don't like to hear. Some of us are liars, cheaters. Some of us don't like to take responsibility for our own actions. Some of us have issues with alcohol or whatever sin that is in our heart. But he'll tell us the truth. Here's a picture of you, and he'll show you the Word of God, and it's like a mirror, and you're like, no! You ever see your picture in the checkout lane on the video? Yeah, checkout lane in the video. Exactly. It's never a flattering angle. And yeah, he'll meet you right where you're at. He'll reveal the truth about you. He'll make a way out, and then he'll ask for you to make a choice. And this is the thing about the beautiful nature of God, is that he sees and he knows our heart, and he's willing to show compassion. So Moses and Aaron were brought again to Pharaoh, and he said to him, go serve the Lord your God. Okay, so he's now giving his rebuttal. He's like, no, come on in. He tells them, okay, go and serve the Lord your God. And who are the ones that are going with you? I need to know. I need to know who are going to go serve in the wilderness. Well, here's what he says. Then he said to them, the Lord God had better be with you when I let you and your little ones go. Beware, the evil is ahead of you. This guy is so full of malarkey. He really is. horse hockey. He's like, okay, who's going with you? And then he says, you better be careful because evil's ahead of you. It's crazy out there. There's lions and tigers and bears and scorpions. You better be careful. And then he tells them, don't put your little ones in harm. The world does the same thing. It's okay if you're religious, but let your children choose which God that they serve. You let your children serve and just pick out. The world is constantly preaching that message. And you could see the confusion that is caused in where we are at today. But the Lord had better be with you. What do you care about our family? You're Pharaoh. We're your slaves. Beware, evil is ahead of you. Now, so go now, who are men, serve the Lord, if that's what you want to desire. And then he kicks him out. He drives him out of Pharaoh's presence. Now get out of here. Shuts the door. Now here's what's interesting. Then the Lord said to Moses, okay, stretch out your hand over Egypt for locusts, that they may come upon the land of Egypt and eat every herb on the land and all that the hail has left. So Moses stretched out his hand, his big knobby fingers. He has a beautiful robe, blowing hair and beard. And he stretched out his rod over the land of Egypt, and the Lord brought an east wind on the land all that day and night. When it was morning, the east wind brought strawberries? Snickers. Nonsense. Locusts. And there was a lot of locusts. Lots. They went up over all the land and rested on the territory of Egypt. There were very, here it is. I love this word, severe. Previously, there had not been not so much as a locust, nor there shall be ever after them. But then also, they covered the face of the whole earth so that the land was darkened and ate every herb in your gardens, every carrot, every palm tree, everything. Now keep in mind, they needed all of that, but what was left over from the hail, so there remained nothing green on the trees or on the plants of the field throughout all the land of Egypt. Oh, yeah. How'd you like that? You reach for your brush, you have to, it falls out. They were everywhere. Everywhere. Fruit Loops, pour into a bowl. What you got?
They weren't everywhere except on the piece of land that was with the Hebrews.
That's right. Everywhere except for this little spots where the Hebrews were at. That would freak me out. Because then you'd be like, locusts? I can think that they were everywhere, and that would have caused a lot of confusion and question. Why are they on us and not on our slaves? That's very fascinating and something to think about. So everywhere they drove their motorcycles, because they had them back then, when they were on the rooftops with their swords, they filled the earth. And then, who had a quick change of mind? Well, let's see. Then Pharaoh called the boys in with great haste. And he said, okay, I have sinned. Moses, okay, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Now, therefore, please forgive my sin only this once and entreat the Lord your God that he may take away from me this death only. I've had a change of heart. Maybe, yeah. So you can see him kind of toying. Maybe he was sincere for that very second, but he wanted these suckers out of his life. I can't handle this. I want to eat rice, not locusts. I want to eat my food. So he went out from Pharaoh, and he entered and entreated the Lord. I love this. He didn't really say much to Pharaoh. He just kind of walked out, and he went and talked to the Lord. This is Moses. And the Lord turned a very strong west wind, and he took the locusts away and blew them into the Red Sea. And they remained not one locust in all the territory of Egypt. I'd be freaking out right there about just the power that God was using through Moses. And so here we have in this, but the Lord hardened again Pharaoh's heart. And he did not let the children go. Children of Israel go. And so you can see the signs, the wonders, the mighty acts that God was showing, judging every single plague, which happens to be the God of the Egyptians. Every single plague, he judged them and he showed them, your gods don't serve you. Your made up gods, I command over them. That's a powerful God. I don't want to trifle with that. But then here comes another one. And this is the 9th plague. This is the 9th plague. And the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand towards heaven, and there might be what? Darkness in the land of Egypt. How many light sleepers you got here? You know, light sleepers? Yeah. I mean, if that little tiny light is flashing on something, you got to put a piece of tape over it. If you stir anything, me, I could probably sleep. Well, I don't know. Am I a light sleeper, babe? No. Okay. Usually I go into a mini coma and the world does not exist. But yeah, darkness is about ready to fall on this land. And here's what's going to happen. God said to Moses, stretch out your hand towards the heaven that there might be darkness over the land of Egypt. Darkness which may even be, bro. You ever been underground in a mine? Yeah? It's crazy, huh? And they turn off all the lights and you can see nothing. Nothing. Whew. Can you imagine having that stuff in your head? Just being so dark. You can't find any hope. Here, this is an actual darkness that they could feel. And so Moses stretched out his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in the land of Egypt for 3 days. Wow, it's a big one. A big one. They did not see one another, nor did anyone rise from the place for 3 days. Some people might enjoy this. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. You can see the protection of God's people. He was starting to form this. No locusts on my people. You guys got locusts. They got a little bit of light. They got some light. You have no light. You have darkness. So Pharaoh called Moses again, sent him a text. They got back. Go and serve the Lord your God, finally. Only let your flocks and your herds be kept back. Let me just hang on to your herds for you. Let your little ones also let your little ones also go with you. But Moses said, you must also give us sacrifices and burnt offerings, that they might be sacrificed to the Lord our God. Our livestock also shall go with us. Not a hoof shall be left behind. I love that. Not a hoof, not a hair follicle will be left behind. For we must take some of them and serve the Lord our God. Even we do not know with what we must serve the Lord until we even get there. And so here, once again, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart. And he just simply would not let them go. And Pharaoh said to them, okay, get away from me. Take heed to yourself. I don't want to see your face anymore. I've been told that a couple times. I don't want to see your face anymore. For in that day you see my face, you're going to die. If I see you again, I'm going to kill you. That's harsh words. But then Moses is like, you've spoken well, muchacho. That's not in here. You've spoken well. I will never see your face again. I will never see your face again. And here is where the beginning part of 11, and it's just a couple of short verses here. Here you're going to find out is that then the Lord said to Moses, I will bring, here's the last plague of what God is about ready to enter in and usher in chapter 12 here in just a few minutes, or a few days. He's going to give Moses the last and final plague. And here he's giving you a teaser of what's going to happen in chapter 12. Because this is where the last plague is going to be, is the death of the firstborn. The death of the firstborn. This is going to cause a huge uproar. Huge uproar. And the Lord said to Moses, I will bring one more plague. And if Moses was smart, he's counted them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, okay, here's the 10th one. He has no idea how many plagues there were up until this point. Afterwards, he said, I will let you go from here. And when he lets you go, he will surely drive you out of here together. He's going to drive you out of here. And he said, speak now in the hearing of the people. This gather the people together. And let every man ask from his neighbor and every woman from their neighbors articles of silver, articles of gold. Why are they doing this? Anybody? I want some wealth. I need some gold. And the Lord gave people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Interesting. Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. I've got some gold. I've got some silver. Articles of gold. Absolutely. Moreover, the men, Moses was very great in the land of Egypt in the sight of Pharaoh's servants. He's this guy is legit. They're starting to hook him up with some really good stuff. They're starting to do this. And then you're starting to see, then Moses said, thus saith the Lord, about midnight, I will go into the midst of Egypt. And let's go back here. I want to share this, why he did this. God was allowing this to happen because they owed his people back pay. Yeah, they were working hard. And God sees that. He sees the work that you and I do. He is giving it back. You're going to get back pay, the gold, the silver, and they're going to wish that you never left. And it's going to cause a big uproar. And so now he's telling the Egyptians the final plague. Thus says the Lord, so thus saith the Lord, about midnight I will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all of the firstborn of the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne, to the firstborn of every female servant who is behind the handmill, and the firstborn of animals. So the animals were included in this too. Talk about an economic collapse. That's a big deal. Because if you derive your income from animals, and you only have one male cattle, what's going to happen? Oh, you're left with all these little cows. How are you going to produce? Are you going to create more? Then there shall be a great cry throughout all the land. Such was not like ever before, nor shall it ever be again. Now, I'll close with these couple of verses, and I want us to just chat a couple of things, something to take home. But against none of the children of Israel, I love this, shall a dog move his tongue against a man or beast, that you may know that the Lord does make a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And all your servants shall come down to me and bow down to me, saying, get out, all the people who follow you. After that, I will go out. Then he went out from Pharaoh. He's got some guts. With great anger. Oh, yeah. He's telling, this is what's going to happen. Intense. Turns around, does a little Michael Jackson turn, and he walks out. And here you have the ending, the last couple of verses. But the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh, we're not going to listen to you. Let me tell you something. He's not going to listen to you, so that my wonders may be multiplied in the land. So Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart and did not let the children of Israel go out of this land. So he's warning them, hey, this is coming. So in Exodus chapter 12, which you'll find, we're going to spend a couple of Sundays on this, but what is your thoughts on these chapters 9 and 10 that you can kind of take home with you? What are your thoughts on this? What are your...
There's an important key on it, because the fields, the wheat and the barley of the Israelites were not damaged with hail. And wheat and barley will come into play later on.
Yes.
And that is an important thing.
Of the meal, we can just let the cat out of the bag. You guys, some guys know what's going to happen. It's going to be big. But go ahead.
No, last time you very graciously allowed me to make the presentation, I made a mistake that I wanted to correct.
Ah, okay. Talk to me.
No, well, in that presentation, I exposed that, or explained that God establishes the beginning of the year and how to count for the feasts. and I explained that there were three signs. One is the moon, the sun, the stars, and the barley. That the barley has to be ready for harvest. But I pointed that had to be ready for harvest in the land of Israel, which is false, because they were in Egypt. It was the only place in the whole on that region that had barley and wheat.
Interesting.
So that's why I cannot sleep until I correct this point.
Okay, I wish I could forgive sin, but I forgive you. Okay, that makes sense because it was in Egypt, right? Yeah, and that was the only thing that was left.
And there was a verse, I don't think it was in 10 or 11, which says, in very specific mention that the barley was not touched.
Yeah.
And that it's not just informality, it has a big meaning on it.
Yeah. What else?
The hardening of Pharaoh's heart. That kind of, I don't know, it was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
What?
It's twofold.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and I'd like to add to that, I think that because Pharaoh's magicians, or whatever you want to call them, could reproduce some of the plagues
Yeah.
that he didn't believe. And I think that some people who are not believers, that really hardens their heart at times, so that when they see the big miracle, it's like awe and awe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those hearts are so hard to break through.
Yeah. It's interesting how a man can be so wicked, so horrible, and yet God will use that life to prove so much. And you'll see this throughout the scriptures when you have Paul, who held the coats while they murdered Christians, and he had decree, and he was on his way. And they hated Paul. They hated Paul because he was a murderer, but yet God proverbially wiped him off his high horse. But the hardening of his heart, twofold, to show the mighty acts that God was going to do, and that he just would not relent. Good stuff.
justifying, Pharaoh felt it was justifying with the hardening of his heart against all of what Moses was telling him.
Yeah.
Now I have a question, is this, like all throughout the Old Testament, it's the Lord being patient, trying to get people turned around, especially the Israelites in Jerusalem and Judah, but I just lost that. I just lost the train of thought.
Okay. Well, when you find it, go ahead. And, hey, you're in good company, guys.
Is this the first time where God has performed that bad stuff to prove to other people that He is there? You know what I'm talking about, like in Habakkuk and Jeremiah, all those smaller books that.
Yeah, those were minor prophets,
Right.
and they'll often refer back to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or they'll refer to God as the mighty, and they'll even say like, terror of God, the terrible of God, and they'll say that. There's actually some verse in the Bible. Hang on to your thought. I know you got. Hang on right there. And he's like, I form the light. I create the darkness. I have peace, and I create evil. I, the Lord, do all of these things. And so he's God. He can do whatever he wants.
Right.
And so this is the first time he's shown the plagues in the process of developing a nation that we now know is of Israel. So it's the first time that we have documentation of this. Yeah.
There's also a big reason why God hardened Pharaoh's heart.
Mm-hmm.
It was not just the king of Israel.
He was a servant.
Considered God.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Okay, that's true.
What?
Pharaohs consider themselves deities. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He considered himself a god.
You know, on
Yeah.
all the plagues, there were a representation of the gods that they worship.
Yeah.
So it was not just frogs or hell, or it was God was systematically destroying all the false gods
Yeah. For a point.
for a
That
point.
I
What is
am
going to be
the
driven?
Lord.
Oh my God, this is so amazing.
In chapter 12
No,
or more. Here on out. It's like he knows what he's doing. Yeah, imagine that. Daniel right here.
Well, I was just going to confirm that he he allowed Pharaoh to continue in his hardened way.
Yeah.
Because you're right, he was attacking every single one of the gods that they were serving, and the magicians could not even come against it. And God was showing to Pharaoh who God really is. And he wasn't just showing this to Pharaoh, he was showing it to the Israelites too, because they were living in these, under these people who were serving these gods, and God was trying to bring them out of a place of slavery to a place of freedom, and they needed to know that they could trust this God. And
Yeah, there you go.
seeing all that was going on,
Yeah.
that would build their trust in God.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're seeing
And
that.
it's really clear, because you would have to stop and think that we're going to the 10th plague here, and God is batting 10 out of 10 here, and anybody else in their right mind would have said, I'm not sure if I'm going to be willing to give up my firstborn, because everything else that he's already done has come to pass. But because Pharaoh is Pharaoh, and he thought he was God, and because God needed to show him who God really is,
Yeah.
he allowed that too. You know,
Yeah.
even anybody would have said, no, I think I'll stop right here. But he let Pharaoh's heart be hardened so that he
There's-
could show that he is God. God among all gods. Like I was sharing, God, Elion, the God above all gods.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah.
He was exposing the
Yeah.
false gods.
The false gods, yeah. You know, the death of the child, death of the firstborn is a big deal, because there's that God of the firstborn, that there's something precious about the firstborn. And I tell you, God looks at children as a blessing. This is why you hear such a severe utterance that came from Jesus Christ when he said, if anyone offends any one of these, it'd be better for a millstone to be put around his neck and to be cast into the sea. That crazy word in there, better for a millstone. That means that there's something worse than a millstone put around your neck and cast into the lake, Commerce City. I mean, it's... Go ahead.
I was told by my dad many years ago that in the Bible, fear equals love. And because if you fear the repercussions of your actions, that means you love God.
I think the terminology fear is often confused with terror
Right.
or harm, but it's revere, respect, to honor.
Right,
The
yeah.
fear of the Lord, that means the respect of the Lord, is the beginning of wisdom. That's the best. It's the best. All right. Go ahead. Last comment. What you got?
So I think in 10, there was a lot of teaching of God's name, his power, and that he was making himself known to the Egyptians and the Israelites, and hoping that by this that they would fear God in a good way and understand that what he is there for.
Yeah, they equated him in their mind to their own God and how they serve him. So they honored, they respected him. So their other gods, their locust god, the blood, the Nile god. Go ahead.
Just real quick, he was showing his authority and power to the Egyptians. He was showing his power toward the Israelites. And even us now today, we can see the demonstration of his power in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
So it comes all the way down to real time.
Yeah, still to this day, they're finding documentations of these plagues that are going on. And when they do cross the Red Sea, there was a huge finding several years ago of massive army military weapons at the bottom of the Red Sea.
So the Egyptians chasing the Israelites?
Yeah, they say it may be, but come on, guys. You can't say yes or no.
War chariots,
Yeah.
golden wheels and all that.
Yeah. And I think the two things that I would just take home is, I don't want my heart to be hardened. I don't want to harden my heart. If God's dealing with me, it's hard. I get it. But it's so much better just to turn to Him. It is very difficult. And there's some things you'll never understand. You'll never understand. And I hear people make these stupid excuses, and I'm going to shut up. I'm not going to serve God until I understand everything in the Bible. I'm like, Really? Do you even do that with your own manual in your car? You don't understand everything in there either. No, I'm not going to serve God because God's Bible was written by men. Okay, all right. Didn't you get your textbooks from college too? Who wrote those? So you get these types of things like just trust Him. He knows what's best for us and our relationships, our desires, our hopes, and it's better just to turn to Him. Yeah. Why don't you bow your heads with me? I want to pray over you before more comments come. Father, we love you today, and we thank you for your word because it has a way of just saturating the hidden, hardened places of our hearts. It reminds us, one, that we are human and we are flawed, and that you are God and you are sovereign and that you are patient. God, would you continue to soften our hearts? That's my prayer. Don't harden my heart. Soften my heart. Please soften my heart. Make me slow to speak, quick to hear, not to be a quick critic of someone just based on their appearances or their actions. But Lord, help me, Lord, to quickly rely on your Spirit. Stir up our affections and shape us into the image of your Son, Jesus Christ. And we go out throughout this week and do our chores and our business. I pray, God, you would be with us and to be thinking about you. Be with us today, Lord. Thank you for your patience in Jesus' name.